Welcome to the NBA.com. This is John's reports for the 4th of September. And, well, we got a little poke back up of that previous decline. Wasn't a whole lot of anything. People are still trying to digest that whole return back and figure out where things are going to go. Trump is, railing about the China, Russia, India axis and what that implies. And, it's a significant deal. Is it going to end? Everyone's talking about the dollar. Um, as far as they're concerned, he's ended that with the tariffs. But then there's the question of the relief because of the court ruling. So, what does that do? Does that change things? So it really threw a lot of stuff up in the air, and that's why it's just split between new money coming in now versus what do you do with it? You can't necessarily put it all into treasuries because, again, you're still speculating that the Fed is going to do something. It's already been somewhat discounted, so not a whole lot of benefit from that standpoint. When we look at it from an NQ standpoint, though, you're starting to look a little bit stronger. You've got very little short activity there, but obviously that's going to turn around. So, do you have new money coming in? Well, you have the right timing. So, from that standpoint, the timing is there. The readings are ugly, but that's just a question of conversion. You see, when we look at our extreme, we're dipped below the 45 line, and that gives you the green. As long as you don't go into the magenta, you're in a position where you get your strong reversals to the upside. You can just go in through and look, and you see them, and then you get the nice move accordingly. So we'll keep following that one. Still waiting for the Nasdaq S&P to kind of come together. From a treasury standpoint, it's still no man's land. It's just caught right in the middle until there's an actual decision. But oil flipping to the lower side of things there, not a whole lot, but every little bit is better. Our expectation was to move towards the zero, and we'll see if we're able to get that with magenta underneath. If it does, well, then you start having some positive effects because every little bit you save in energy gets translated directly into savings that are applied where elsewhere, either in consumption or investment. It's really not complicated economics. They make it so much more difficult and really confuse the situation. From a euro standpoint, it's a disaster to be anywhere near it. But again, they're going to be spending a lot of euros for weaponry and that. And if they're able to do it in euros, then that staves them off from. The situation. The Fed's still their backstop. So, as ironic as it's not the ECB that backstops them, it's the U.S. Fed backstopping the euro. From a gold standpoint, yeah, just an indication that governments with their spending at some point they're going to pay the piper, and being in alternative classes is where most people are thinking they've got to be. Bitcoin just still caught under its 50%, got MBI white, and interesting that the magenta fading is not a great thing underneath 25. So that'll be an interesting to follow because it's still in the DOC spread there, and with orange caught between the two, red and cyan, you get a continuation of the direction. In this case, it's sort of sideways, so uh, not horrible in that sense, but it doesn't really promote some kind of breakout. ETH hovering nice, just above that 76%, and still consistent with magenta over, doesn't have the same MBI white. So you can see that the money flow has definitely gone towards ETH and the expectations, and that's been kind of some of the shift there. But still following pretty close to what the Nasdaq does. From our ES standpoint, so we had that turnaround we saw was coming through there with the magenta leading, and then followed through most of the day. And then you get the beautiful one where the MBI white poked up just above and created your brief move down to your 50% support there, and then the magenta crossing back above right over here. And once that happened, you ended up with your short cover rally. Yeah, boom, that's where we're at this particular stage. So that's the long and the short of it for now. From an intraday 5 minute standpoint, you can see it's pretty negative, and then again they do it at the last minute, and that's just typical behavior for options. So I think that is part of that normal mean reversion, and not particularly a problem. It's just the dynamic of it. I think it's actually helpful because I think it shows that the market's fairly healthy. When we see that Asian session, not a whole lot of anything in the European one, just faded off from its peak level before. So that's where we are. About to go into the open. Some TS issues, so it was a little late getting it out, but there you have it. As always, trade well.